Some of the most important lessons I've learned in my life have come from the men who have helped raise me. I'm fascinated by the stories and lessons they have to share, especially war stories. My maternal grandfather assisted with the Berlin airlift and spent his whole life dedicating his time and money to charitable causes. He taught me the joys of helping my neighbors. My paternal grandfather didn't face bullets overseas. His war was with Parkinson's disease. He made every effort to be present in my life despite his condition. He taught me to stand strong in the face of adversity. My great-grandfather raided a German beer hall during World War II and drunkenly evaded capture. He taught me how to have fun. I don't know who I would be without them. They've left a positive impact on me that will last a lifetime. However, there is one man who I wish I could have met. Alan Long, my father's mother's father. He passed away in 1995, long before I could ever meet him. I've always wondered what I'd think of him if I had the chance to talk to him, what kind of stories he would have wanted to share. But Alan was forward-thinking. He didn't want to leave future generations completely in the dark. The life expectancy of paper is far greater than that of man. While I can't speak to him directly, whatever stories and lessons he could have shared with me are kept in this box right here. He gave me the pieces, and it's my job to put them together. Alan was born in 1923 to a farming family in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, a major industrial hub for America at the time, known for its steel, rubber, and pies. At just 6 years old, Alan and everyone else in America were thrust into the Great Depression. If he could see how I'm living, he'd probably tell me I got life real easy with my college education and child labor laws. He had to start working early, very early. By the time he was in high school, he established himself as a machinist at Doler Jarvis. Unfortunately, an education alone can't put food on the table. He and his family couldn't afford to send him to college, so he stuck to blue-collar work. Seeing what he had to go through makes me so grateful for the life I get to live. He sacrificed his youth to provide a better future for his family. I really admire him for that. Despite his situation, his job prospects would quickly change. Across the Atlantic Ocean, Hitler and the Axis of Powers had declared war on America's allies. To conquer Europe was their goal. And in December of 1941, Pearl Harbor was the victim of a surprise attack by Imperial Japan. Like every other American, Alan was filled with a righteous anger. He was soon surrounded by images of Uncle Sam calling a country into action, calling out to brave people willing to fight the Axis menace. Alan had just turned 18, the minimum age to enlist in the Army. Enlisting during wartime was a very risky decision. He faced the choice of defending his country and protecting his family, knowing it could cost him his life. Despite this risk, he enlisted anyway. It gave him the chance to be something more than just a machinist. Opportunities like this only come once in a lifetime. Being a metal worker, he'd probably tell me to strike while the iron is hot. He dropped out of high school and traded his cap and gown for a helmet and camouflage. Then he shipped off to Camp Gordon in Georgia for basic training. He made plenty of new friends and learned how to shoot a gun, a skill that works on deer as well as Germans. Before long, he found himself in France with the 26th Yankee Division in the 104th Infantry Regiment. On the field of battle, a soldier must be ready for any situation. Based on what he left behind, Alan was always prepared. He carried a map of Paris in case he was ever separated from his platoon. A pay record with not a single page filled out. Food stamps from the American Red Cross. He didn't use all of them. I'm guessing he wanted to maintain his string bean figure. A little book of prayers. And when one of the pages was damaged, he took the time to repair it with Scotch tape. Knowing that this book may have brought him comfort on the field of battle brings a smile to my face. Most importantly, he carried his mother's contact info in case of emergency. Speaking of his mother, back at home, she anxiously awaited to hear from her son. Combing through the Mercury for news about the war became a daily task. Every mention of the 26th Yankee Division she clipped out and saved. It was the only way she could stay in the know about Alan. At any moment, she could receive a letter in the mail saying Alan was hurt or worse. All she could do was check the newspaper and wait for the war to end. Then one day, a telegram came in the mail. Regret to inform you, your son was seriously wounded in action in France, 25 October. There it was. Until new addresses received, her nightmares became reality. Her son's life was in danger, and there's nothing she can do. I cannot begin to imagine how terrifying this had to be for her. Thankfully, good news was on the way. A letter from Alan, written in immaculate cursive, came in the mail. He says he's being fed well, he got a steak, they have live music and movies, plenty of candy and cigarettes to go around. Seems like the military hospital is the place to be. He makes no mention of where he was wounded. His mother would soon learn that he was shot in the face. The bullet ripped through his sinus cavity and left a wound that took months to heal. His optimism in this situation is remarkable. If Alan was telling me this story, he'd probably say it's best to have a bulletproof attitude when life shoots at you. Now, whether or not he was actually content, or he just wanted to ease his mother's nerves, we'll never know. When he was able to work again, he was placed in a non-combat role, a role he held until the Allies secured victory. From there, he was transferred to the military police, where he worked to help a recovering Europe. MPs assisted with distribution of aid, cracked down on war profiteering, and brought refugees back to their homes. When it was time to return home, Alan boarded the SS Ezra Cornell to cross the Atlantic. A daily newsletter was given to the passengers, keeping them updated on current events and happenings on the ship. Alan saved every single one. He didn't write down what he saw in battle, but he saved these. Was it sentimentality? Did he want to remember what was for dinner on February 4th? What movies they were playing? What comics they included? While they don't teach us a lot about Alan, they teach us about the small details of his experience. It's these kinds of details you can't learn about in a classroom. Upon his return home, Alan was greeted by his relieved mother and high school sweetheart, Mildred, my great-grandmother. In a double wedding, Alan and Mildred were married. They decided to remain in Pottstown, where Alan went back to work at Doler Jarvis, and Millie went to work for the U.S. Postal Service, processing stamps for packaging. Together, they brought 2 children into the world, Jay, my great-uncle, and Sandra, my grandmother. From what I can see, they lived together happily. In their free time, they would sail and fish together. With no more Germans to kill, Alan was able to return to hunting with his buddies. He made sure to stay in touch with his buddies from the Yankee Division, attending their annual reunions. Looking back on his life, a younger Alan mired in the Great Depression probably could have never imagined owning a home or ever retiring, a feeling that's all too familiar. With the current economic situation, it's becoming less and less possible for younger people to earn enough money to support themselves. For me, it helps to look back at my great-grandfather's life. Despite having little financial hope as a young adult, he still put in the effort to bring home a paycheck, and it eventually paid off. Alan and Millie lived a relatively quiet retired life, going out while they still could and caring for their puppy. Then, on October 26, 1995, Alan passed away. As far as I can tell, it was from natural causes. At this point in my research, I was unsatisfied. Is this all there is? There's more I still want to know. What did he see in battle? Was he happy with his job? Was he really a good father? Was he really a loving husband? Was he a good person? Then, at the bottom of the bin, I found this. This was taken at Alan's funeral. It looks like people showed up in droves to lay flowers on his grave. Behind each flower is a family member he cared for, a friend he helped in war, or a person he simply left a positive impact on. He was loved, and that's all that really matters to me. He seems like the kind of man I would have loved to have known.